Okay, so hi Sovic, am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Alright, let me share the screen. Alright, so in the last class we have discussed about, okay, so we have discussed about simple portfolio using HTML, which we have created. And in the simple HTML portfolio, we have designed index page. Index page is nothing but it was the home page. We have designed what? Home page. And then we have designed the about page, education page, skills page, and resume page with downloading resume button. Okay. We also deployed that portfolio on Netlify platform to make it live. Okay. And the last topic we had to discuss, which is form, but we couldn't discuss about the form. Okay. So today is what, day 4. So this is the, okay, this is not day 4 but day 5 of HTML. Okay, and today we will discuss about the form tag, right? So form is what? If whenever we want to take the user data, user input, then we display the form. Let's suppose we have facebook.com. Okay, for example, if you want to do the login, then what you require, you need a form. Okay, you need a login form. When you are the existing user, you will write your email or phone number, and then you will write the password. After that, you will click on the login, right? So this is what the login form. So such type of form we can create using HTML. Okay, what are the attributes? What are the tags we need to use to create such forms? We will discuss. Let's suppose if you want to create the registration form. Let's suppose you are the new user for the Facebook. Then what you will do? You will create a new account. When you click here, so this type of form is nothing but registration form. Okay, so here we have input field for the first name, then surname input field. Okay, then we have this drop down field. Okay, drop down field means here you will see list of values. Okay, so this kind of fields are known as drop down. And then we have radio button. Radio buttons means where you can select one value out of many. Okay, so you can select either male or female, right? Then we have mobile number field, then password field. Okay, then we have sign up button. So such type of fields we can create using HTML as well. Such type of forms we can create using HTML. Okay, so let's try to understand what are the form tags are there, form elements are there to create the HTML form. Okay, so the first thing is we will discuss about the form tag. So in the form tag, basically form tag we mention something like form. Okay, and in the form tag we can mention the attribute like action. Action means where you want to submit the form, and then we have method, like in which method you want to submit the form. Okay, so method could be, your method could be either post method, okay, or you can write get method. But we will discuss this post and get in detail later. But as of now, you can understand post means you want to submit the secure data like private data, and get means like security doesn't matter while submitting the form. Security doesn't matter, but here security matters. It provides security and it does not provide the security. Okay, so these are the two methods to submit the form. And there is one more thing which is text input. We can take the text input from the user. So whenever we want to take the text input, we will write input field, and after that we will write type text. Okay, whatever type field you want, you can mention the type. Okay, similarly we have another field which is, we can say, password field. Then we have email input. Okay, if you want to take the email input, we can take email input. Then we have radio button. Okay. Then we have another type of input which is checkbox. Okay, we will see all the fields with practical. Okay, the seventh one is drop down. The eighth one is text area. Next one is file upload. If you want to upload any file, so that type of input we can take using file input field. And the next one is buttons. Okay, so we have buttons like, we have different types of buttons. Let's suppose you want to submit the form, then submit button is there. Let's suppose you want to reset the form, so we have reset button. Okay, so these all are the buttons we can implement. Next thing is the attributes. What are the attributes we can use? So we have different attributes we can use with the form tag, such as attributes. Okay, so attributes are like name, ID, placeholder. We have required attribute, and we have value, right? Okay, so let's try to create each form one by one. So let me open the VS Code. Let's open the folder. So here on the desktop, here we have on stack and HTML, and this is the day 5. So let me just create a new folder here. This is the day 5. Okay, just select this folder and you will close this as well. Okay, so here we will create one file which is, let's suppose, okay, let's suppose text, okay, index.html. Right. Okay, so let's create the boilerplate of HTML code. HTML column 5. So form tag. We are learning form tags, right? And here we will write one message, day 5 form tag. And here we will make it, okay, let's check the output by clicking on go live. So here we are getting the output. Okay, I want to keep it in center, so I can write here align center. I just want to keep one line after this heading, so I will write HR. So I'm getting one horizontal line. and from here I will start creating my form. Okay, so whenever we want to create the form, we use form tag. Okay, so what we use the form tag, right? So in the form tag we have action. Okay, so right now we are not discussing about the action, we are just creating the form. When you write the form tag you will not get anything. Okay, so here what we can do, here we can create input. Okay, so we can create the input, and the input, in the input we have one attribute called type. In this type we can mention what type of input you want. Okay, so if you are mentioning here text, so what you are getting, the text you are getting. Okay, let's suppose if I mention here password. Okay, so whatever I will write, so this is the password now. Okay, the spelling wrong. So now what, let's, so, so whatever you will write, it will not be visible. Okay, it will come like dot dot. Okay, so you can mention other type as well. Let's suppose radio if you are mentioning. So now the type is what, so it is coming like a button. Okay, but we will discuss later. Right now we are discussing about which text, which type of input, text input. So this is what text input. Okay, so in order to get the text input we will write the text. Okay, but user will confuse like what to enter in this particular field. Okay, what to insert in this particular field. So we need to write one, what we need to do, we need to write one placeholder. Okay, so we can mention here one placeholder attribute. Okay, and here we can mention enter your name. Okay, so what you are seeing here, we are seeing here it is clearly displaying enter your name, right? So how many attributes we are using here, we are using here two attributes. One is type, second is placeholder. Okay, so inside the form tag we are using one more tag which is input tag, and this input tag is having type as well as placeholder. Okay, and this text is a value of type attribute. This enter your name is a value of placeholder attribute, right? Okay, so one more thing we can mention here, like before this I want to display the name. So like I can display the name like this. For example, if I write here name, let's suppose if I am writing here name, so what I'm getting name here, but this is not the correct way to define the name, to write the name. Okay, and what I want, let's suppose I'm clicking on this name, this box should be clickable. Okay, what I'm trying to say, either you are clicking here, I mean, for example, if you are clicking on this name, automatically your cursor moves the this particular box. So for such thing we can use the label. Okay, what we use, we use the label, we use the label tag. Okay, and inside the label we can write the name of this input field. So the name of the input field is name, right? Okay, so now when I'm clicking here, still it is not highlighting this particular input box. So what I will do, I will give the name of this particular box. So I will use here one attribute called name, and name is what, the name of this placeholder is, let's suppose name. So here I can mention for attribute, and here I can mention name. Okay, I think instead of writing name, we can use ID. So see, if I'm clicking on this, if I'm clicking here, when I'm clicking on this name label, so automatically it will go here, cursor will come here. So let's see here one more time. So see, I'm clicking on this. So it is highlighting the input box. If you are clicking on input box, that is correct. But when you click on this, so still it is going inside the input box. So such type of things we can achieve using the label. Okay, this is why we write the label. Okay, and in the label we have four attribute, and the four attribute value is name. Okay, so this value, the four attribute value must be similar to this ID. Okay, because there is an interconnection between four attribute and this ID, right? Let's suppose I have to create one more field for the password. So what can I do? So I will write here one label. Okay, I first let's write the input. Okay, now the type is what? Password. Okay, let me refresh it. So it is coming like this, password. Okay, but for example, I want such label here as well. Okay, I want such label here. So what can I do? I can use the label. I can use the label tag. And what's the label name? Label name is password. Okay, and inside this input box I want the similar thing. Okay, what I want this text inside the input password input field here. Okay, so how can I get? We need to use the placeholder. Okay, so in the input field here I will write the placeholder. I will say placeholder. And what's the placeholder name? Let's suppose we are saying password. Okay, so we are getting here password, right? And what I want, when I click on this password, it should highlight the checkbox. Okay, when someone clicking on this password text, so automatically it should go to the password in. Let's suppose same here I am clicking here, so it is going, cursor is going inside this input field. But when I am clicking on this, our cursor is not going anywhere. So that we can mention, for that we can give the ID to this input field. ID is what? Let's suppose I am writing ID is what? Pass. So here in the for, in the label for, okay, so this is for password. So in the label for, we can mention the ID. Okay, so what ID we have given? The ID which we have given, which is pass. So the same ID we have to mention here as well. Okay, so let's mention pass. This is the professional way to write. Okay, now see, when I will click here, it is moving to the input box, right? Let's suppose I want to bring this password after this name. Means at this second line, I want to keep the password field. So what you will do, you can use the line break. Okay, so you can use the BR tag. BR tag is for line break. Okay, you can use one more BR. Okay, so it is coming something like that, right? Or if you want to change the align, you want to keep this form in center, so you can say align center. Okay, so after that, after password we have another field. Okay, so whenever you are creating a field, so let's write the comment for creating the field. So now I am creating the email field, email input field. So first of all, I will do two things. One is I will write the label for the input. So label. Okay, in the label I will mention the field name, which is email, and one more thing, I will write here input. Okay, and if you will write column and if you will write mail, I mean if you will mention the email here. So this field is what type? Email. Okay, name attribute I can delete, no problem. So here I can mention the ID, which is the ID name is same as a email. So ID we can give any. Why we are giving ID? So that this label and this input field both can interconnect. Okay, so in the for I will mention ID name. ID name is what? Email. So when someone click on email, okay, what's the mistake we are doing? Okay, so spelling mistake here we are doing. Here we should write label. Okay, so when I click here, it's going inside the particular input field. Okay, and I can write here PR tag. Okay, so here if you want to write something inside this, we can mention what? Place folder. Okay, so in placeholder we can mention email. Okay, so this is the email input field. Let's suppose I want to create another field. So let's write the label. Inside the label, we will write the label name. Let's suppose this is the gender. I want, okay, I want like people can select the gender. So let's bring it what? And this type of fields are known as radio, radio, radio button we can mention. And for the next line, so this should come in the next line. So we can use the BR. So BR tag and BR tag here. Okay. And after that, what we can do, we can mention the, okay, here to the gender, we can mention like paragraph. Okay, why I am saying paragraph? So you will understand because we will make label to the, we are going to highlight two options, either male or female, right? So this male and female, I want to keep it as a label. I want to keep it inside the label. So I will write here label, okay, and this male I will keep inside the label. Similarly, this female as well, I want to keep in the label. Okay, and I want to create the radio button. Radio buttons, how to create? Let's suppose I'm writing here input, and the input type should be radio. Okay, so now this checkbox is coming, and I want to create one more checkbox which is input, and here I will write the radio. Okay. So sometime what happens, it is hard to click on this radio button. For example, I have to select this, but I'm unable to click on this particular circle. So what I will do, when I want to select the male, I will click on male and it should select male. When I want to select the female, so I will click on female and it should select the female. Okay, just wait a minute. So this is I want when I click on female, so female input box should be selected. So in label the the id of this field. So id of this field is, let's suppose this is for male. So here I in label I will mention for, and this is what male. So when I click on this male, so see, male is selected. But when I'm clicking on female, so female checkbox is not selecting. It's not being selected. So what we can do, again in the female input box, okay, in the female input box, I will mention one ID which is female. And in the label for, I will mention the ID name. ID name is what? Right? So when I click on this female text, so female is selecting. When I'm clicking on this male text, so male is selecting. But the problem is both the values are selecting. Both the input fields are selecting. It should not being select like this. Okay, at a time one radio button can be selected. So for such thing, what we can do, we can mention the value. Okay, so we can mention here value. So the value is what? Here the value is what? Female. And on the male input field, I will say value is what? Value is what? Male. Okay, so now try to select. When I'm selecting male, so male has selected. Okay, still it is selecting both. So for this, we can mention the name. Okay, so let's try to say the name is what? Gender, and this name is also gender. Okay, so keep the name same of both field. Now male and click on female. Okay, okay, you can remove this value if you want. As of now, this is also value we can remove. Okay, so this is must. Name should be same. Name should be gender. Here it is not like you have to write gender only, but you can write the same value you need to mention. If you're writing G, then mention the G, both the places. In the name attribute, okay, in the name attribute, value should be same, right? In both field name attribute, value must be same. Then only it will select single button. Otherwise, it can select multiple, right? Okay, so after radio button, let's discuss another type. Okay, so now let's discuss about the checkbox input. So whenever you want to take multiple input from the user, then we can use the checkbox. So for checkbox, let's create one tag, p tag hobby. So let's suppose we want to ask hobbies of the user. So I have mentioned here hobby. Okay, and here what I will do, I will use the input. Okay, but the type of this input is not a text but checkbox. Okay, so checkbox means this particular thing you can see. Okay, so this is the checkbox, but it is meaningless because we didn't mention any text before this. So we can mention the text before this, right? So can we say value is what? Reading. So it is actually meaningless as of now because we had to write here label. Okay. So first checkbox. After the checkbox, there should be some text. Okay, means here there should some text. So how can you keep the text here? So after the checkbox, we can use the input, and the input type we will write, okay, not input, but we will write the label. Okay, and in the label we will mention the name. So name is like hobby name, let's suppose reading. Okay, so text is coming at its place. Next is what? Next. Okay, so what I want, when I click on reading, it should select like this. So for this you can do one thing in the label, not in the label, but first in the input checkbox, just mention one ID. Okay, so ID, let's suppose ID is what? Reading itself ID or read. Okay, ID is read. So if you will click on this, still it will not select. So for what you need to do, you need to use the for, and here you will write. Okay, now see, when I click on this, automatically checkbox has been selected. Okay, sometime whenever we are trying to zoom, let's suppose page is not zoomable, so it's hard to click on this particular small box. That is why we make something like this. Okay, so let's create another hobby. So for another hobby we will take one more input, and the type is what? Checkbox. You can write like this also, colon checkbox. So automatically it will take, and the extra you can, and let's route write the label. Okay, right now I'm not writing for. Okay, so label name is what? Let's give the label name like sports. Right, so same thing we have to do here. So again right here for, and the for name is what? Sport, and same name ID, let's give sports. Right, so let's click on this. So it's sports has selected. So this is for multiple selection. Okay, a person can have more than one home. Okay, so it can be select and unselect. Okay, so this is how we can create the checkbox. Next type of input is, next type of input we can keep, which is drop down. Okay, drop down means you will get a list. So how you will get the drop down list? So let's create the drop down. Okay, so for this we will use one tag, which is select tag. Okay, let's remove name and everything as of now. And here let's suppose I want to keep some uh, list. Okay, so it's coming here, but let's use br here, one more br, so two br, so it's coming here. Okay, so in this list, in this drop down, I want to keep some values. So in order to keep some values in the drop down, you can use the option. Okay, so let's not write anything as of now. So let me write here option as what? HTML. Okay, option CSS. So now you can see two things are coming, HTML and CSS. Let's suppose I want to keep one more, so I will write option, and here I will mention JavaScript or maybe Python. Okay, so it's coming like this. So this is what drop down. Okay, but I don't want to display here this message which is HTML. I want to display something like select course, or maybe course I want to display. So here you can mention Here what you can mention the name. The name is what? Course. Or maybe just a minute guys. Okay, so let's suppose I want to keep here default option. So you can create one more option here, and here you can mention the name as like select course. Okay, so this time you can see here select course is coming. Okay, and if you want to keep it selected, you can mention here one attribute called selected. Okay, so when you click here, so it will be selected. Otherwise, if you want to keep selected any other thing, so you can mention here selected as well. So when you click on this drop down, so automatically you can see CSS is selecting. Okay, so this is how this selected work. Okay, you can see Python is selected, but let's, and one more thing, if you want to make it disable, you can use disabled here. So means you can see here this select course is there, but it is disabled. Disabled means you cannot select it. And you can mention here selected and disabled. So you can see the message is what select course, but this is disabled. You cannot select this select course, so you can select other courses. Okay, so like that you can mention. But before this, let's write one label as well. So the label is what? Label name is select course. Okay, so when someone click on this select course, so this list should open like this. So for that, let's use the for here, and in the for, let's mention here, like before that we need to create one ID. Okay, so let's write the ID, or instead of writing this name, we can make this name as ID. What is our ID name? Course. But same ID name we have to mention in the for label, which is course. Click on this course, you can see it is select. Okay, and you can select it. Okay, so this is how drop down list work. Okay, so next input field is, let's suppose you want to keep the message or big large detailed message or text you want to write as an input. So we have another type, which is text area. Okay, so here you can create text area by writing the tag name, which is text area. Okay, so text area itself a tag name which you can mention. So it is a large box. Let's write here BR for the new line. Okay, so this is the text area is coming. Okay, so with this text area, you can mention like how many rows you want here. Rows like, for example, 8 rows. Okay, so the height will increase, and the columns like walls like 2 columns. So the width is shrinking. Okay, so similarly you can write 8, 12, or whatever columns you want. Okay, like, okay, so for this let's create the label. So label, and write the label name, your message. Okay, and what we can do, or we can write okay, so it is coming something like this. That's correct. Okay, so next type of field is what? File uploads. Let's suppose if you want to upload a file, so you can write here file upload. So in order to upload the file, what you need to do, you need to take input. Okay, but this should not be the type like text input. But let's suppose first let's br for break, line break. Okay, so this line is coming here, but I don't want to text field here. I want to get here file. The field name should be file. Okay, so it is saying choose file, right? Okay, so what we will do, we will create one label as well. So label is there. Okay, so we can mention here ID first. ID is what? Let's suppose resume upload. So ID is resume, and the name of this field is upload resume. So this, after this, let me write BR. So this is for upload. So when you click here, it will ask you what you want to upload. So whatever you want to upload, it can. Okay, so it is saying copy.jpg, right? Right. So this is what we have done. And if you want to create the button field, so you can create the button field as well. So button, okay, or we can say submit button. So for creating the submit button, we'll write here input and type should be the submit. Let's write here. Okay, so it's coming something like this. But if you want to check the text over it, you can mention here value. So submit form. So like that you can mention. So it is coming something like that. Okay, and if you want to make any field required, but means mandatory to fill, so you can keep that field as a required. Okay, so let's suppose this is a name field. Okay, enter your name field. So this is the input box. So if you will mention here required, what it will do, if you will not fill it, it will display one message. Okay, let's suppose if you will try to submit this form, so only this field is saying enter name. Let's suppose name is Jian. So click on this, so it is submitting. But after submitting, where it is going? Okay, so we can mention in the action. Okay, in the action we can create one more file here. Okay, so here I will say thanks.html. What is my file name? Thanks.html. Okay, so in the thanks.html I am creating one html page, a small page. So I will say here add, okay, and title we can say title is what, form, like data submitted, right? And we can mention here body, and in the body I can mention one message which is thanks for submitting data. So like this field, this message I want display. Okay, when user will submit this form, this message should display. So in the index.html file, okay, so in the action I will mention where to move after submission, where it should move. So it should display, should go to this file thanks.html. Okay, so but if you will submit it without entering the name, it will not take. So let's enter the name. Okay, let's write the password like 123. Let's write the Gmail. Okay, let's select the gender, hobby, reading, sports, language, HTML, course HTML. Okay, and messages. learning HTML from Edway. Okay, upload resume. So just click on this file. For dummy image, I am just uploading and just click on this submit. So once you will submit, it will display thanks for submitting the data. Okay. So this is a normal behavior we have created. Okay. So this is a normal thing we have created. And in the next class, we will try to create the advanced field and we will start one new topic in the HTML which is for like formatting text. Okay. Right. So is there any doubt? Sobik, did you create anything? Like, did you make any project live? If yes, can you please share the link of your project, of your website, whatever you have created? Deployed on Netlify? Yes, please share the link. Okay, no worries. In the next class, you may share the link. Okay. Okay, but you can remember the name whenever you're deploying the website. So you should remember the name. Okay, the last will be .netlify .app, but the starting one your website name. Okay, right? Okay. So leave it as of now. But in the next class, you should deploy this particular form as well. Okay, like this form you should deploy and you should share me another link. You can create more better form. Okay, by practicing this. In the next class, we will try to create advanced form. Okay, and the next class will be on Monday. Right, Sobik? All right. So thank you for giving your valuable time. Do you have any doubt? Anything you want to ask? All right. Thank you for giving your valuable time. Let's practice, keep creating such a more beautiful thing and try to deploy them, try to make it live so that everyone can see. And also you can post your work on the LinkedIn as well by mentioning Edway. So thank you for giving your valuable time once again.